have always been admired and desired for immigration by citizens of less developed countries. In these regions, people receive high-quality education, there is a strong social welfare system, and the local people are known for their attractive appearance. These countries are peaceful and have a harmonious relationship with nature. Sweden, in particular, is one of the most sought-after countries in the world for immigration. So, are the Scandinavian countries and Sweden a dream destination as described, or is it slightly exaggerated? In this video, we will cover various aspects of Sweden and leave the judgment to you. Firstly, Sweden has a massive land area of 528,000 square kilometers. I said massive because compared to other European countries, this land area is huge. The good thing about the matter is that in such a peaceful and vast geography, only 11 million people live here. To put it in perspective, consider having a similar land area to Spain, Thailand, and the state of California, and you only have 11 million people, while Thailand has 50 million people, Spain has 72 million, and 40 million people live in California. This proves that Sweden has a relatively low population density and much tranquility. For instance, according to a 2024 research conducted by corporate companies such as CNN and Forbes, Sweden was ranked as the fourth happiest country in the world. The fact that such studies are being shared with the world suggests that even people who have never been to Sweden think it is a perfect country. Another notable aspect of the country is that it has not been involved in a war since 1814. In other words, they were able to avoid disasters such as World War I and World War II and quietly continued to develop. In contrast, other countries suffered losses of both people and money due to wars. As a result, despite receiving a large number of immigrants, they are not in the midst of great chaos. The people are well-groomed and enjoy a high standard of living. Their main challenges are the extremely cold climate and tax rates reaching 60%. In addition to this, the water here is so clean that you can drink directly from the taps and use the fountains for drinking water without any worries. In fact, there is no sign of lime in the water sources, and even people living in areas with high standards of living can drink tap water without any concerns. Moreover, Sweden is one of the regions where beneficial plants such as blueberries and herbs used for making tea naturally grow. The locals collect these natural herbs and fruits to make tea and protect themselves from cold weather. On the other hand, since human rights are fundamental in Sweden, you cannot see any physical punishment given to children especially. At the same time, companies like IKEA, Volvo, and Epidemic Sound originated in Sweden and have stayed true to their roots. Despite Volvo being produced by a Chinese company for the last decade, it still carries the Swedish brand and continues to produce durable luxury cars. In terms of architecture, I do not know your expectations from a country, but in Sweden, roads are notably clean, and modern buildings often feature brick red or cream-colored with high-contrast color tones. Suppose you come from an area with little to no European architecture influence. The triangular roofed houses, reminiscent of Swedish castles, and the medieval atmosphere they bring to the city can captivate you. In the capital city, Stockholm, people are generally busy with business activities. The atmosphere is calm, there is no life chaos, and no traffic congestion. Some go to work on foot, while others ride bikes or use electric scooters without needing a car. I should mention that owning a good car in Sweden is easy, similar to other European countries. While in many Middle Eastern and South American countries, when you buy a car, you also pay taxes to the state as much as the price of a car. In Sweden, you can buy a second-hand, low-mileage new model Volvo for between $10,000 and $15,000 without paying high taxes. Swedes mostly prefer large vehicles with wagon-style trunks. This is because they can fit their children, tents, and other supplies inside. In a country with forests, lakes, and pristine natural areas, the people of Sweden spend their weekends with their children in these spacious cars, enjoying barbecues or hiking activities. It is worth mentioning that Sweden has more than 220,000 islands. Ferries and boat tours are available from Stockholm to these islands. However, many of these islands have no settlement and are as deserted as possible. Even if the islands do not interest you, watching Stockholm while traveling on the sea will give you a unique sense of peace. For those moving to Sweden from lively, entertainment-loving countries like Italy, Germany, or Ukraine, the daily routine in Stockholm might seem a bit dull. Life there is focused on work and tranquility. However, coming to Sweden from a Middle Eastern or African country might feel like heaven due to the quality of life. The quality of life in Sweden and the low crime rates are much better compared to African and Middle Eastern countries. People, including women, can comfortably walk the streets at night, with the probability of someone harassing them being less than 1%. In other words, the country is extremely safe, and crime rates are low compared to worldwide averages. For example, according to current research, Sweden ranks 118th among countries with the highest crime rates. Moreover, most of the crimes in the country are committed by immigrants rather than local people, as the high taxes can be difficult for outsiders to bear. For instance, if you move to Sweden and work as a freelancer, you will face a significant tax rate of up to 50% for the money deposited into your bank account, which can be quite challenging for those coming from outside the country. Despite these challenges, it is worth noting that Swedish people are considered to have some of the most beautiful races in the world. Everyone has different tastes when it comes to beauty, but when comparing European countries, it's often said that Swedes are truly beautiful and handsome. Every man you see on the streets or in parks could easily pass for a film actor. They are typically tall, blonde, and dress very elegantly. Both young and elderly men are well-groomed, which is not so common in many other countries. Swedish men, in general, are not focused on entertainment, but are more inclined towards leading a serious life. They are not interested in casual flings. Rather, they are seeking a serious relationship or marriage, according to the people we have spoken to. However, if you are a woman in Sweden, don't get too excited by this because Swedish women are just as beautiful as the men. For immigrants, it can be challenging to feel confident among these people who are cultured, well-educated, and very good-looking. For example, women in Sweden don't tend to be too thin or too overweight. They generally have well-proportioned body shapes due to regular exercise. They often have natural ash blonde hair, and the majority of them have blue eyes. It is also said that Tinder is intensively used in the country. For those unfamiliar with Tinder, it is a dating app where you swipe right if you like someone, and if the person you liked also swipes right on your profile, you match and can then meet up. This is a popular way for people, particularly immigrants, to flirt and connect in Sweden, as it can be challenging to meet new people in person due to the serious social atmosphere and fear of rejection. If you're not interested in using dating apps, Sweden also has a strong interest in activities like salsa dancing. Additionally, one of Stockholm's most beautiful features is its location on the banks of Lake Mälaren and the Baltic Sea. Stockholm is just as close to the capitals of Finland and Estonia, Helsinki and Tallinn. The Baltic Sea is located between these three capitals, and you can also travel by sea to the beautiful capitals of these three countries. You will experience a similar way of life and climate in all three countries. For instance, in all three countries, the oxygen ratio in the air is much higher than the rest of the world. The population is low, the architecture is impressive, and the people are well-educated and beautiful. Sweden, for example, has a high oxygen ratio due to its 69% forest cover. These forests contain a high number of pine trees and various plants, so you can always breathe fresh oxygen. It is said that only 3% of Sweden's land area is made up of cities. Additionally, in urban areas, there is a strong presence of trees, and many parks can be found in the cities. Swedes like to live close to trees, flowers, and insects. Even when constructing buildings, they strive to maintain the surrounding habitat. In other words, they are in harmony with nature, which is a part of their culture. The national anthem of Sweden includes praises for nature with verses like, "My beautiful country, I greet our sky, our sun, and our green lands." While we continue to discuss the positive aspects of Sweden, Let's also address some negative situations so the entire video isn't perceived as Swedish propaganda. Despite the high quality of life, socializing in Sweden can be expensive, with tea or coffee at a cafe costing $5 or $6 and a portion of pasta priced at $25. Particularly in the wake of the pandemic and the Russia-Ukraine conflict, the prices of basic goods like cereals and coffee have significantly increased upon entering the country. Swedes have experienced a sudden 10% inflation rate. As a result, dining out or enjoying coffee at a cafe has become expensive for both visitors and local people. However, some people see the situation this way. If you earn Swedish krona in Sweden, it's normal to spend Swedish krona when shopping and pay accordingly. If you earn Swedish krona but in your mind convert it into less valuable currencies when spending, the cost of living there will seem very expensive to you. It's a fact that Sweden's economy is also one of the weakest among the European Union countries. This fact may be a surprise to you, but if you look at various research rankings among European Union countries, you'll see that Sweden is generally at the bottom of various statistical rankings. Yes, they have a stable economy, but the cost of living is extremely high. For example, electricity prices in the country have increased fivefold from last year to today. There's also a 9% inflation in food. 80% of the people are significantly affected by the price increases in all areas of life in the last year. Despite all, immigrants are fond of Sweden. Immigrants who have been granted residence permits in Sweden form more elite backgrounds compared to the ones in places like London. Those living in Sweden understand very well what I mean, because immigrants there are generally more intelligent, better educated, composed, and hard-working than those in London and New York. To the extent that immigrants who almost need to learn Swedish in order to stay in the country pick up the language rapidly and achieve high scores in language exams. Additionally, those who relocate to Sweden with their families smoothly integrate into the Swedish lifestyle and culture and are not adversely affected by the process of adaptation. Particularly Africans are quite successful in this regard and wholeheartedly embrace the norms of Sweden. Sweden is home to a diverse population, including Syrians, Iranians, and Arabs, as well as some blonde, blue-eyed people from Russia and Ukraine. Immigrants often describe it as the best country in the world, but those who struggle with the high cost of living in cities like Stockholm often opt for a more rural lifestyle. One example is Skansen, a charming village south of Stockholm that serves as an open-air museum showcasing Sweden's historical way of life.